What's poppin', guys? Sean Don is back with a redo of Devan's technical analysis. If you were one of the three people who saw it earlier, you might have realized that my microphone was off and there was no talking, just a lot of video clicking through, no talking. So yeah, redoing it. So yeah, this is Devan. He's working on 3 turns, making the switch from 2 turns. So he sent me both videos, and honestly, I took the 3 turn usually because it shows more of what goes wrong in the throw, and then it also is just a better angle too. So let's take a look. Okay, one more time. Honestly, decent 3 turn. I wouldn't even have suspected that you were making the transition. Like I said, it looks pretty natural. So I think, yeah, stick with the 3 turn. Whatever you're doing this indoor season, stick with it. I think the 3 turn, once you get used to it in competition, you'll be fine. Because right now in training, I mean, maybe this is your best throw ever with it. I don't know. But I think it looks perfectly fine. I think this is a good technique for you. So, sling start, good stuff. I like it. That being said, though, I think I've mentioned before in other videos, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So I recommend the sling start because it is less hard to mess up, I think. And not to say that you're messing it up, but I think it needs to be improved a bit. So as you come through on the sling start, you see there's a dramatic shift of your weight to this right side. So as you can see, if you, I don't know how to put a number on it, looks like you have at least like 80% of your weight on your right foot and maybe 20 over on the left. Not always ideal because what's going to happen from here is your left side is going to pull and lead a little bit because you are so heavy on the right. And when you're too heavy on the right, you can't turn and use your right leg effectively. You can do it a little bit, but not as good as it needs to be. So get more weight back over this left side. Think about having this left hip and this left shoulder closer to over the left heel. It doesn't have to be perfect. But if you have, like, let's say at least like 60% of your weight on your left foot instead of, only 20, that I think would go a long way. That's the first big thing. Second big thing is your actual push on this initial entry is a little too aggressive, in my opinion. I'd say as the ball comes back here, try to wait for it to come back forward. So as you go to push, you have so much separation, the ball's so far behind you that your hands, you can see right here, your hands are quite literally in line with the ball if you're drawing a line from the back of the circle to the sector. Your hands are in front of the ball instead of keeping the ball in front of you. And I know you're accelerating and you're pushing, and this is the one downfall of over pushing in both the hammer and the weight, is that if you push too hard, you actually disconnect with the hammer because you are ahead of it so much. So during the sling start, try to finesse it a little bit more. So first off, like I said, more weight on the left side. And then secondly, as it gets to about back here, also I like how your shoulders are turned back, but I would say it's not necessary to turn them back so much. I'd say maybe if you turn back to about 90 degrees. So if your shoulders were about, to about there, and you kept more weight on your left side, that'd be better than having this really dramatic sort of rotation in the sling start. So then as you come through, like I said, wait for the ball. Excuse me, I just ate dinner. Ooh, it was good. Mom made pot roast. Yeah. So as you come through, wait for the ball to get a little bit more in front of you. Like I said, you're never gonna have the ball perfectly in line, perfectly in front of you, but it's just so aggressive through here. You can see, so like these 6 or 7 frames, you're just pushing the shit out of your hands, which is fine. But then like it's this frame right here. Looks like you stop for a second, and when you stop, the ball finally catches up, and things start moving. But what you need to do, like I said, so these 2 frames. Use your right leg, your right foot, right knee, right hip to start pushing. As soon as the ball comes forward, it's not just your hands pushing by, it's also your right leg turning and extending backwards. And this is going to come into play much more in the following turns. Yeah, so use that right leg more in the entry, keep more weight on your left side, and don't push so aggressively. Try to finesse it a little bit more. Work with the ball, not just ahead of it. But otherwise, as you come through 0, your head's leaning a little bit and the left side's leaning a little bit, and your right side is just starting to turn. This is very typical in the American hammer and weight throwers. The right foot doesn't really turn until the ball gets to about 0, or just after it, if at all. And honestly, I have the same problem. But like I said, you need to think about turning that right foot as the ball is back here towards 270. If you get your right foot turning earlier, you're going to be able to use it more. It's going to put more weight on that left side. You're going to be much more connected to the ball overall. Just a win-win if you use that right foot and right leg a little bit earlier. Otherwise, as you come through 0, because you have a little bit too much weight on this right side, like I said, that's why it's hard to turn your right foot. You can even see in this distribution right here, it looks like you have probably like 55 to 60% of your weight on your left foot, or sorry, your right foot. And then your left foot is just not quite. And you're starting off the heel, so that makes it hard too. But that being said, I mean, I think this heel turn is still pretty solid. Your hips are back a little bit, and your shoulders are a little bit forwards. And I think, once again, this is a result of having too much weight back on this right foot. I think if you more weight on the left side and you start driving your hips towards the ball, push your hips, literally squeeze your ass cheeks, use your glutes to push your hips towards the ball, get more weight on that left side. And this another indicator is this right knee is so far behind. That's a sign that you have too much weight back on this left side, or right side, sorry. Too much weight on the right side. If this right knee was closer to this left knee and your hips were closer to the ball, it'd be much better, much more efficient. You'd be much more connected. As you can see, like I said, this left side, the head and the foot are the indicators here. The ball is at just about 90 degrees and the left foot's pointed to about 150. Well, the right foot is probably pointed to about 75 degrees. This is a sign that, like I said, it's about working with the ball. At this point, your foot, knee, hip, shoulders, everything, both legs, both shoulders, both hips should be square to the ball. Left foot and right foot should be pointed both in the direction of 90 degrees, more or less. And that's a good sign that you are working with the ball. Like I said, this left foot pointed open is a sign that you're using that left side just a little bit too much. And then as you come through, you kind of spin out a little bit. As you can see, your heel is here and your left toe is about 4 or 5 inches to the right if you're just looking at literally the 2D view. And because of that toe becomes the axis of the throw, so you have to kind of spin out and shift your weight way over there when it's so far back on that right side. And so you see there's this kind of, it's just a little inefficiency. As the ball comes left and goes forward, you should feel the ball pull you forward onto your toe, whereas right now it looks like you're putting your toe down ahead of the ball. So like I said, ball pulls you onto your toe. You don't put your toe down and then ball goes around. As the ball's coming through here, you should feel the ball pull you forward, pulse towards the sector is what I like to call it. And you feel your weight literally shift forward onto that toe. It comes down naturally. But once again, it's so hard when you have so much weight on your right side in the start. And like I said, you kind of spin out. And yeah, but as you come down, honestly, not bad catch. Not super early, not super late. Pretty average, pretty typical. Posture is not bad. Your shoulders could be a little bit back more over these hips, over that heel. Or your hips could be a little bit more forwards and shoulders a little bit more back. Once again, just more weight on the left side is going to help out. So then as you come through, landed kind of flat-footed a little bit, or at least on the ball of the foot. Heel collapses a little bit. That's a sign that you're not using your right side as much as you could with that heel collapsing. Ideally, this ball of the foot would come down and that heel would stay up. The ankle would stay stiff. A stiff ankle is good in the hammer throw. It means more efficient transfer of energy. As you come through, and this is where your throw starts to get weird. So in the first turn, excuse me, I gotta adjust myself here. I'm kneeling on the ground and it's bothering my knees. Yeah, so as you come through, this is so weird. You're the first person I've ever seen do this. In the first turn, your head was ahead of the ball, and your left side was leading a little bit. And it's still, your left side still does lead, but it looks like you have this weird sort of compensation for that. It's like, I don't know if it was your coach or it was you who came up with it, but it looks like in an effort to let the ball pass more and let the ball kind of get ahead of that left side, you're like, all right, I'm not going to turn my head. And So this is so weird. The ball's passing 90, but your head is still looking back at 0. And to be fair, your right leg is turning much better in this turn. Much better right leg action. There's more to be desired, which I'll talk about in a second here. But I just wanted to point out your head. This is kind of weird. I'd say just try to focus on the ball. You don't have to look at the ball. It's a good recommendation. Personally, myself, I don't look at anything. I just kind of feel and go and tune everything out visually, as weird as that sounds. I don't think about looking at the ball, but at the same time, I also don't have a problem with my head turning ahead of the ball. So, yeah, eyes on the ball, or at the very least, try to relax and not force it. Maybe you don't even think about this. I don't know. People are wired weird. People are wired different. Not saying it's a bad thing, not saying it's a good thing, but I think it's just odd. I don't know. Maybe it's just one of those idiosyncrasies that people have sometimes. But so yeah, otherwise, outside of that, pretty decent weight distribution here. This left side's still a little bit ahead of the ball, but like I said, right leg is turning much better with the ball in this turn until right about here. After this, the right leg kind of collapses. As you see, this knee kind of drops towards the ground. And that is not very good, in my opinion. I would say, so like as you catch, not only does his right leg need to turn, like rotationally, but it also needs to extend backwards. So as you come through 0, it should be pushing, it should be not only turning, like I said, turning and pushing backwards, kind of like reverse corkscrewing, I think. I don't know. That's a made-up term that I just made up right now. But yeah, so at this point, your right leg, it's those 4 or 5 frames right there. You see your right knee drop towards the ground. If that right knee is dropping towards the ground, it means it's not extending away. Rather, it's giving to the ball, and you're missing once again the pulse or the direction, where, like I said, you just need to drive backwards. You need to feel the pendulum motion. If you are familiar with what I'm talking about, if you watch my How to Throw Weight video. That right leg extends backwards, and that's how you actually accelerate the ball. Right now, you're just kind of turning with it, and like I said, giving to it, and it's not very efficient. You're probably not getting a lot of power into the throw. So, I mean, it's a good thing, too, because, just think about however far you've been throwing, and then you add the stuff in, you throw 2-3 meters further in a matter of a month or so, once things kind of iron out. So the right leg needs to extend, but at the same time, you need to hold this left side, not pull back away. Right leg extends, left side holds. Ball gets driven out to the left, and left foot still leads a little bit. Like I said, so this right leg gives, and it doesn't really do anything, so that's why this left side needs to take over, and that left foot still kind of flops open. Ball's once again at 90, left foot's pulling to 150. Right foot's more with the ball. Like I said, that's good, but it needs to extend too. And then once again, because that right side doesn't quite extend the way that it needs to, you once again kind of spin out around this left foot. And you have too much rotational energy. The hammer and the weight is everything moves rotationally, but to accelerate a rotational, what is the term? Angular momentum, rotational something. I don't know. Think about a bike wheel. That's a terrible example. I don't know. Like I said, pendulum's the biggest thing. To accelerate a pendulum, you pull up on it. You have to move in a linear fashion. While everything is moving around you, you need to feel the linear forces to accelerate appropriately. Like I said, you just have too much rotational energy through here because that left side is kind of taken over. And because it does, you over-rotate just a bit, you land late. And once again, in terms of ball position, it's not bad. But it's this over-rotation where, like, if your right foot got down about there, you'd have that extra 15, 30 degrees to push the ball and accelerate the ball. Otherwise, right foot comes down, and then as you come through, same thing with the head. Right leg's working well again. And let's see posture on this catch. Hips a little bit back, shoulders a little forward. Kind of the same way at the start. Try to set that posture better at the start and hold it better throughout the throw. And same thing, stiffer ankle. Push that ball foot in the ground and try to keep that stiffness through this ankle. As you come through, right leg's turning, but then kind of same thing happens. There's just a few frames here where there's no extension coming through this knee, so then your knee drops towards the ground, towards the ground, towards the ground. And like your double support is nice and long, but it's not a very efficient double support. Like I said, got to extend towards the sector. All your energy needs to be directed towards 180. And you still do the weird head thing, like I said. Kind of funky, but hey, like I said, I don't even know if you think about it or not. Other than that, because, yeah, so left foot opens up, and then you really, instead of being pointed towards 150, now it's even closer. I'd say it's like 130-ish, 115-ish. So then once again, you're going to kind of spin out because you're not pushing back against the ball. You got a kind of a little funky finish here. Right leg extends out. Finally, it gets some extension, but at the wrong time and in single support. And this is going to be your latest catch once again, because that you're kind of turning on the side of the foot, and you're kind of artificially putting that left toe down rather than letting it come down naturally with the pulse and the direction of the ball. Once again, I kind of had the same problem. It's a tough thing to fix, but once you do, it makes a huge difference. So once again, I think if you waited longer, let the ball pass more, and let it pull you forward and drive your hips towards the ball, drive your shoulders towards the ball. Everything just needs to go forwards with the ball. Step forward towards the sector, drive your hip to the high point. You'll catch much earlier. Much deeper catch means much longer finish. And this is the first turn where your right foot really doesn't turn that much, and because that left side kind of comes out. But overall, though, like I said, for learning the 3-turn, it looks decent. I think you just need to keep working with it and stick with it. I think you can totally throw 3 turns this season and do well with it. And like I said, once you set up these little things, like I said, in the entry, more weight on the left side, more finessed sling start, and then it's really the huge thing for you right now is that right leg extension. You're turning with the ball pretty well, but you just need to extend backwards. And I think once you do that, it'll change a lot of things in the throw, so it might mess you up for a little bit, but I swear if you stick with it and you feel that extension, you're going to feel the ball accelerate, like literally twice as much in each turn. So I don't know how far you're throwing right now, but like I said, you got an easy 2-3 meters in the tank just based on that right leg alone. So, yeah, let me know if you have any questions, man. Sorry for the mix-up earlier. If you have any questions, I'm always here to help. And if anybody out there would like a technical analysis of their own, go to www.seandonnelly.biz, services page, Instagram technical analysis, or in-depth technical analysis. Indoor season is literally right around the corner. Like, it starts in a week or two. Legitimate season, not the preseason December stuff. So get a technical analysis, figure out what you got to do to throw farther, and then go crush the indoor season, break some records, win some medals, and set some PRs. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Sean Don, peace out. Until next time.